Well, hello everyone. Thanks for chiming in again today for another episode of Let's Heal Together. My name is Jackie Wilson and welcome to the show. I want to share with you guys today about domestic violence. We're going to talk about what are the different forms. I want to do this because I don't want anyone to be ignorant to domestic violence like I was in my marriage. I dealt with mental, emotional, psychological abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, in my marriage, and I had no clue that I was dealing with these different forms of abuse. First, let me just say this. I didn't know I was dealing with abuse. I'm thinking our relationship is adjusting issues. We were new into being married. And then as time went on, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm too independent. He's independent. We're clashing. These were some of the reasons why we were having these issues within our marriage. And so when we reached out, or at least I reached out to try to talk to other individuals to bring them into our marriage. And I'm like, hey, we need help. We're having adjusting issues. We're having communication issues. We're not getting along. Things seem very toxic. I never used the word abuse or violence, and nobody else in my circle used that either. And so I had no clue because I was looking at the fact that he didn't physically hit me, there was no verbal abuse, and there was no sexual abuse. That was the only different forms that I knew of in terms of abuse. So that's what I had. That was my gauge. That was my radar. And because it wasn't any of those three, I didn't think I was dealing with an abusive marriage. But I found out a few years after I left my marriage, after the marriage ended, that I was in fact in an abusive marriage. And so I want to be able to share this information with you all so that you're not blindsided, that you're not in a relationship and not even know that you're in an abusive relationship. Okay, so I want to share my information, and that's why I'm doing these videos, is just to share, bring awareness, to educate, to expose what abuse is so that family and friends and coworkers will know what it is and be able to help that loved one that could be dealing with it, or maybe just know the signs when they see somebody and they can say, wow, I think that person might be in an abusive relationship because some of the behaviors of what they're doing, or maybe their lifestyle, is mimicking what you've heard me talk about, or maybe what you researched online, and then you can say, wow, this is probably what they're dealing with, and what can I do to try to help this individual out? I don't want you to run from them. I want you to go and try to see if you can help that individual to get out of that situation. Even just a conversation, hey, how are you? Is there anything I can do to help? That will go an extremely long way. You have no idea how much of a benefit that would be to someone that's in an abusive relationship. So now, with that being said, let's just get right into the different forms of abuse. It's so many of them. I want you guys to know what they are so that, like I said before, you're not blindsided. So when we talk about abuse, let's go ahead and count them. There's physical abuse. There's mental, emotional, psychological abuse, verbal, sexual abuse, financial abuse. There's financial and economic goes together. There's social abuse, spiritual abuse, and there's even something that we don't hear quite often. It's called immigration status. That is a form of abuse as well. And then also another form of abuse is reproductive coercion. That is a form of abuse as well. And so in my research of what I found, and I do a lot of research online, I'm looking up all kinds of information because I want to be informed about domestic and sexual violence. I'm actually a certified advocate of that, of both of those two. And so I want to be able to know a lot of information about it in order to help individuals that I run across. Some people may recommend individuals for me to talk to, and I just really want to know the information so that way I can spread it, on to so many people, pass it on, get it out there so that individuals will be aware of it. We can be educated and we'll know what to look for. We won't be blindsided by these different red flags that individuals have. These perpetrators, they present red flags. But if we're not keened enough, if we're not educated enough, if we're not aware, or as the young folks say, if we're not woke, we'll miss it. And then next thing you know, we're in an abusive relationship. So I want to be able to share this information with you all. So as time goes on, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to dig deep into it. We're going to expose what each one of the abuse forms are that I just shared with you. And we're going to talk about what it is. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on my videos just talking about abuse, because I know individuals deal with all different types of life traumatic experiences. But I do want you to know that I will put on different videos that will talk about a lot of different topics. I'm not afraid to talk about those controversial topics that nobody else wants to talk about. I can go out and have dinner or have lunch with somebody or go for a brunch and have tea and crumpets and talk about domestic and sexual violence. I want you guys to be just that comfortable with talking about it as well. So let's not look at putting it under the rug or sliding under the rug or putting it on the shelf and not dealing with it. It's not going to go away just because we don't talk about it. It's continuing to happen. Let's learn how to be aware of it, be educated, and feel comfortable with talking to our loved ones about it, and be supportive to our loved ones as well. So on the next episode that we talk about, we're going to get more into talking about some healing from other life traumatic experiences. So stay tuned, continue to keep following me, liking, and also subscribe to my channel as well. I appreciate you guys loving your support. You have a great rest of your evening. Be empowered, share your truth, share your story, and live your life transparent and unashamed. My name is Jackie Wilson, and thank you very much for joining in for another episode of Let's Heal Together. Bye-bye for now.